So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene for the living world of darkness, rage across New York. And we will be setting this scene in the Sept of the Green, which is pretty much, where we almost always set it. And we will more specifically be setting the scene at the Rock, the best rock, the biggest rock, the most awesome rock. I mean, sure, we make it out like he's a badass, but he's surrounded in at least two different layers of colored flowers. He likes them, they make him happy. And there is a 10 point perched atop him because he likes that too. He gets lonely. And the Wormfoe board is probably down, propped against one side of the massive boulder, while 10 point is stationed atop. There is a blanket stretched out over top the rock. We don't ask where the blankets come from. And yeah, 10 point is nested up there, as she very often is in her free time. And we will say is in the midst of fiddling with some clay. Because, yes, that is a thing she does. And beautifully ironic. Yeah. But yes, she has a big hunk of locally sourced clay. And by locally sourced, I mean she dug it out of one side of the lake. Where Talate showed her. That was fairly clear of detritus and whatnot, because you don't want that. And yeah, she is perched, antlers and all, just poking away at something in clay in her hands.
Yeah, out of whatever direction she comes, like probably from the direction of the heart, the cairn of the blah blah blah, the heart of the cairn, blah 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 blah. The player is about as tired as the character is as Robin comes, like not really, like almost slouching. She definitely has circles under her eyes. She's holding what seems to be like one of those like throwaway cups. It looks dirty, and it's filled with popcorn. And there's sort of a disappointed look on Robin's face as she looks at the popcorn and really hopes that the Evermeal would be so kind as to fill this cup with like a good cup of coffee. Unfortunately, it didn't.
Little did you know, it was from one of the concession stands and originally full of popcorn. The cake
Probably,
was a
yeah.
lie. Let it be known that there is also now not just a file, but an accordion file nested up next to the Wormfoe board, likely, well, being used to file something or another, but it is a new addition to the Wormfoe board situation. Though the board is definitely looking a lot cleaner now. A lot of things have been pulled down and filed away.
Mhm. Yeah, Robin is just walking up to inspect the board. She hasn't necessarily seen 10 point yet because her gaze was mostly fixed on like where to put her feet. Looked at the cup.
Can't step on them
Disappointed look again.
flowers.
Can't step on them flowers. Check the board. Put some popcorn in her mouth, and oh god, it's like old popcorn. Oh, her life sucks so much right now, and she's cold because even though temperatures are slowly getting better, it's still fucking cold at night, and she's usually still in Homet. She's not very used to like walking around on four legs or even like with claws and everything. She doesn't like it, and it takes her way too much effort. So yeah, I mean, she still has her notebook or whatever can pass as a notebook, kind of like tucked underneath her arm, and is
Divine.
just kind of staring blankly at this wormflow board, not really reading, although she tries to. Is basically just reading the first sentence, then losing her thoughts and starting over again.
And then, with the metal sides glistening and glowing in the sunlight, descending from above, a coffee tumbler. One of those nice travel mugs. Ones that keeps it hot like forever. Will slowly descend into the range of her vision. Not like right in front of her face, but down the side of the rock as 10 Point takes a proper look both at the circles under her eyes, the kind of puttering gait, and the cup of popcorn that she seems so disgusted with. And 2 plus 2 makes 4, and means that she needs to just slowly offer down a cup full of what is no shit awakened coffee, because otherwise it really doesn't have any effect for her. And she do like that caffeine. So will just slowly appear down in the rage. And of course, should Robin look up, there will be a hand and arm attached accordingly. Because coffee cups do not generally just float in midair.
I mean, you say that, but Robin stares at the cup for the longest time, confused as to what is that cup doing there. And it's almost like she stretches out her hand, she takes the cup, and it's only then that she realizes, wait a minute. And her gaze goes up.
And yeah, she sees the attached hand and arm, and finally, antlered head from where 10 Point is leaning down over the side of the rock to offer the thing down. Eyebrows
And
kind of
again,
popping up as she looks up.
there is the longest stare as slowly the cogs start turning in Robin's head until there's that moment of realization. And she'll just let herself kind of drop on the ground.
Poor Robin. Poor coffee
Good
cup.
morning. 10 Point Raya.
There's no need for all that. She gestures
Oh, yeah.
to pull her back up.
She'll get back up and, yeah. Like, probably the popcorn is now spilled over the ground, but Robin just looks at this empty cup now with, like, the one popcorn that kind of got like, placked into the cup that didn't immediately, like... And she then just walks around to find, like, a dustbin or something and just, you know, or a litter can or whatever, and she just throws the cup away and it's like, yeah, fuck it. And we'll go for the coffee. Thank you.
Of course. And at least, she takes a glance around, at least when we are on our own, you need only tip your chin. I appreciate your willingness, but...
Yeah, sorry, 10 Point Raya. I know you said that before, I think. Or someone did.
It is probably the safer, reflexive action to go ahead and flop over, but for your own sake.
I'll keep it in mind. Thank you. She takes a sip from their cup, and there's like the closed eyes, the expression of before she realizes, oh, no milk. But at least it's coffee.
Hey, I will have you know that while 10 Point puts no sugar in her coffee, she may be ever so slightly liberal with the half and half.
Fair enough.
But at least it is still very warm and very strong coffee. Awakened strong. Doesn't matter what form you're in, you're going to get kicked in the face with some caffeine.
Yeah. I mean, at first it's just a warmth that's going through her body. She's like, oh God, it's lekker. Oh, this is so nice.
And lucky you,
I
she
mean-
hasn't spiked it today.
Oh God, that would have been...
Look at the bright side, the
Hey.
alcohol isn't awakened.
Speaking of illicit drug use,
Hey! Not illicit. 10 Point's totally, probably an adult, technically. It's hard to tell what that is.
so is she like 10 or something?
No.
So, yeah, Robin just finishes the cup and her eyes start to get a little bit of that spark back.
She has that effect one has when they're not terribly accustomed to caffeine or get hit with really good shit, where your eyes, like your focus, your vision clears, like you're looking through a camera and someone just turns the lens to bring everything into focus, just involuntarily, like whoop.
It's sort of like that. Robin is, unlike her player, someone who does drink a lot of lattes with like a lot of sugar and extra flavors and everything. Like the coffee that you can't really
Fancy.
call coffee. Yeah. So yeah, having actual and especially awakened and strong coffee, it does like give her like that. Whew.
Pupils dilating.
I mean,
She'll eventually stretch her hand down for the mug once it has been turned completely up and is obviously empty, so that she can
Oh,
tuck it away again. There is some of the same clay staining her fingertips, probably. But she will nonetheless take it, never minding the smudges that she leaves on the shiny, shiny metal, and tuck it back into her swag. But illicit drug use, you say?
Yes. Jacob appears.
Just
Looking
poof.
to see what is on the welfare board and make additions or subtractions or do something involving the welfare board. And we'll spot a lovely little deer bay and a little baby bird. A deer and a bird, all in one go. It's a win-win.
It is.
All the cute animals.
I'll even put it there, so if you want to, you can actually reference it.
Yes.
Assume that the
That did not work out for me. Let's try that again. It gave me like a super miniaturized image of like 32 by 32 of a welfare board. It's pretty funny.
Lol. No, assume that the completed / closed are all things that have been filed, so that they are still there for reference, but the primary objective of which has been handled.
We got.
Robin notices that her own message is gone, so she's gonna like go through everything to see if it's still there somewhere, which I know it is out of character, but
Yep. She can hunt around. She'll see that the initial little message has indeed been plucked off, though several of the reports and incidents have gotten much lengthier. So much more has been added. Most of it in 10 points writing, because let's face it, she doesn't have Aiden's chicken scratch. Oh, men and their lack of interest in legible handwriting.
Indeed.
But yeah, she will tuck the cup away as they peruse the board and go back to idly poking at the little clay object and studiously pretending not to notice that Jacob is there, because she's totally an adult and doesn't do the cold shoulder thing. That would be hilarious and childish.
Hey guys.
Good afternoon, Ryan.
Robin looks torn between having to go on her back for her cousin or ignoring social etiquette while there's someone else present, and in the end decides that
doesn't seem to be looking. She's so taken up in what she's doing. Even when she says "Good afternoon," Raya, she just so focused on the project at hand.
Little eye flat. Well, Jacob's eyes flatten ever so slightly. Doesn't really say or react too much.
Hey, Jake.
Hey
Hey.
there. What you doing?
Checking the board. I didn't really have anything else to do. I thought maybe I could help somewhere with something,
Yeah, it looks like a lot of stuff is, or at least a lot of the intermediate objectives have been accomplished.
Yeah.
Ooh, let me see where I put that saucy little thing real fast.
I can imagine a new set is going to be added fairly soon.
I guess.
We still got the hunters.
I know. But I don't really know what to do about that. I just know that there will be more coming, and it will be more scary than the first. That's one thing I know absolutely certain. Though I don't really know how. I still guess it has something to do with, getting attached to that first hunter's head. Just picking it up out of his... But I was thinking about that. It's kind of weird to have picked that up from his mind. Because what I saw, what I dreamt of, was happening after he died. But I don't know, it just feels like it's something that definitely happened.
By linking your mind to the hunters, you may have actually tapped into a larger mind link.
Ugh.
It's
Or you may
something.
have opened yourself to affiliated memories or ideas. Not all things are linked in a logical fashion.
This is also true.
I don't know. It just, yeah. I'm not quite sure if it's like a good thing to do again. It seemed like a smart idea at first, but maybe it's not. I don't know.
Perhaps in situations where there are plenty of us to do the fighting so that you can focus on what you're doing.
Might be worth. Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about doctors in here. If anyone needs some information, like, my brother is a doctor.
I don't know. I sincerely hope he does not know this particular doctor.
I mean, no, I prefer not either, but maybe he can, like, if we need to look out for some signs in the medical world, I actually have a few people that are situated here in New York and are dealing with medical society.
Could be a point of interest, though I think that as far as the human world is concerned, Dr. Baijan is meant to be dead.
Hmm.
But there
But
may
he still must
studies? She kind of tilts her head.
probably, and if he does things like the same as these hunters, they were created in one place in a room. Like, I saw them. They were hooked up to some shit. That shit needs to come from a place.
Was it like the place that you found yourself back in the beginning?
I don't know. When I had my first change, when I woke up, I was more in like I don't know. It seemed like a prison torture thing. You know, these things that you see in like Marvel stuff.
Blink.
Felt more like that.
There's a comical lack of recognition on the 10-point face.
Yeah, Robin looks a bit confused because who doesn't know Marvel? She still has to get used to the entire, oh wait, there are people outside of normal society. So she blinks back and she's like, well, you know, Avengers movies,
Blink.
Spider-Man.
Blink. Eventually, a very small
Guardians
shrug.
of the Galaxy.
Light shake of the head.
Look at Jacob. Oh.
Jacob gets the Hobbit references.
Yeah,
See, this
that's
is
like
the problem of being a menace. You miss out on that like high tier meme economy.
Should have
right.
seen the one time 10-point said she was a bae. Aiden told her to stay off the Twitter.
Oh boy. Anyway, I think even this doctor, what was his name again? As she looks back at the board, Dr.
Baijan.
Baijan.
If he's still doing things, then maybe we could locate where he gets his supplies from. Get like an address. Something like that.
Well, he's working for Magadon Pharmaceuticals. Just a problem.
Magadon Pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, they're a WIC, a worm-infested corporation. So
Nod, nod.
Time for Robin to get the slightly, glazed over eyes. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
but basically an organization that works for the worm is corrupted by the worm.
Dr. Baijan is, for example, a black spiral dancer. And somehow manages to maintain and she does the little air quotes, day job.
I mean, if he has a day job, he should be somewhere.
As I said, from what we understood, looking back through articles, Dr. Baijan was proclaimed dead. And whatever he is doing, it's pretty obvious that he's been moving from place to place. We assume that Macedon is what is funding him to continue his work. And his moving around makes it very, very hard to get a pin on where he is and do anything about it.
But his work, if he's a doctor, usually those projects are not very easily movable. So
Not with Magadon's funding. I mean, I'm trying to trace the money, but the problem is if
well,
engaging in shadow banking and moving of institutions outside regulatory oversight, it makes it very difficult for me to track, even in the economic capital of the world. Maybe even harder because it is the economic capital of the world.
fair enough. But
From what I understand, a lot of companies can do things where they do one thing and then on the paperwork say it is another thing.
To an extent, it's
a helpless shrug because this is obviously like well outside of 10 Points wheelhouse.
well, if you guys want to, like, I know this sounds kind of silly, and I know there's lessons that I need to learn and everything, and I'm doing that. But
I know.
I want to be able to help out at least. So if there's anything I can do, like I said, I could talk to my brother, to some of the other people that I know. Maybe they can come up with something that seems odd.
Talk to your brother and your medical friends about it. Don't have them look too deep because the last thing we want is more people jumping down the rabbit hole. But if we can find out anything that might help us, that'd be great.
I'll see what I can do. I'll ask them parents if I can go off Sept. Maybe with you. I mean, my brother knows you, of course, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't be too big of a problem, I guess.
And we'll see what we turn up. It shouldn't be too bad. I mean, we're definitely making progress. The real issue is just finding him now. It's kind of interesting, really. He's a spiral, but the way he's acting, I mean, as you said, he's moving around a lot. That is very. I mean, that's something you would attribute to a silent strider.
There's kind of a thoughtful blink there. And while not necessarily with her head pointed at him, she kind of gives a like, "You ain't wrong," little nod, like, "Yeah, that checks out."
And when we were talking with the right master, he's still like his duties as a fiat, right? He seems to have still clung to them to some extent. Obviously not the same as they are now, but he seemingly takes it very seriously. So it seems like he switched sides, but a lot of his personality traits have remained largely intact or the same, which means
If he was motivated by the same hate and thirst for vengeance even before, then there may be only so much to change.
Actually, because would you mind if I allowed if I allowed Robin to have a look at our file on Bajan himself? See, Robin was studying studying psychology. She may be able, Robin, you might actually be able to help us build a psychological profile on this guy. I mean, I know a bit about
I could
psychology,
try.
but I'm no expert.
There's a shrug and an idle shake of the head. She doesn't seem to especially mind.
I can definitely try. I mean, I wasn't studying to become like a profiler, but it is definitely something that, yeah, falls in our line of study, so sure.
I'll only request that mention of Richard is kept to a minimum.
I know how to keep my mouth shut.
A light bob of the head. I think we've lost enough without Jason having to worry about being reminded of the final acts of his husband.
Sorry.
So again, a light kind of dismissive shrug. It wasn't, after all, anyone she knew personally, but there's obviously like the tinges of real concern for Jason in the statement. Meanwhile, she continues to poke and prod at the clay, probably in this case working on a damn near in fact, outright life-sized raven.
Birds.
Nothing. Just thinking of another raven statue.
Nope, there are other things up there. You can see little bits of clay poking up over the edge, but since neither of you has climbed up yet, they're not immediately apparent. But she does have a fully life-size little raven that she is working on, particularly this one like mantling kind of aggressively. She is in fact fighting with the hackles, which are meant to be kind of popped up, beak open, little tongue sticking out.
Nice. Actually, can I ask both of you? How did we get back on Sept after getting into the hellhole?
We ran.
I see.
Pretty much.
It's said very matter-of-factly as she continues poking with a carving tool at the hackles, picking out little bits of clay.
Robin was referring to the Magadus situation, right?
Magda? Yeah. I assume so.
Yeah.
That's when we were in the hellhole.
Yeah.
Yeah, in which case Jacob just says, yeah, most we could do was slow down our adversary, even then only to a meager extent.
So what happened to her? I don't get that.
She was possessed by the cleave of pain, either because she was prepared to be a new vessel or because her suffering was so great that she made a more tempting vessel for the spirit than the one it had already. At this point, her jaw's gotten a little stiffer, her lips have gotten a little stiffer, but she's nonetheless still picking studiously at the clay.
Cleave of pain? What was that monster? Was that it?
I believe that was probably her that you saw. She is what I saw, though I did not know it at the time.
It was some sort of a... I don't know. It seemed like it was on fire. It looks terrifying.
The Caliph of Pain is, in a way, the anchor to the hellhole. The reason we have not done away with it is because she rests at its center and on the throne. Killing her invites the one who kills her to become her new vessel, meaning that she cannot simply be done away with. We wrestled back the hellhole and weakened her as much as we could without killing her, in an attempt to reset the proverbial clock, as it is still going to grow, and eventually it will begin to stretch out again. But hopefully by then, this Sept's children, or theirs, will have thought of a better way to deal with her, a way that deals with her permanently.
So, we failed, right? We weren't able to get her back then.
Categorically.
I'm sorry. How's Simon about it? As she looks at Jacob.
Not taking it very well.
I suppose.
And needless to say, to see someone you care about like that transformed into a cruel mockery of what they once were is not an easy thing to process.
Tim Point's little actions with the carving tools have gotten a little more stiffer, a little sharper. She's kind of jabbing at it now rather than very carefully scraping or coaxing. And to prevent it, he could have done anything. Anything would have been better than nothing. And now the best that I can do for her, as she flicks another piece of clay, like, she's been kind of like flicking out pieces or carving them off and brushing them aside, like wiping them off onto something up there. At this point, there's a bit of clay that just kind of flies off. At this point, the best that I can do for Magda is see if there's some way that I can kill her consciousness so she doesn't have to ride along knowing that it is in her body. Jab, jab, jab.
I remember when we got back and I said I wanted to deal with this later, so I did want to get your side of the story and Aiden's. I'll ask him personally later. But you said he could have done more to help. What exactly happened? Or what did you go to him for help? Because I've been hearing things and I want to get the full... I want to get every side of what happened before all the philodoxes meet.
And she finally, very carefully, sets the little sculpture down and then, much less carefully, kind of jabs the carving tool into the big wad of clay at her side, patting off her hands, turning and sliding down, so that she can come properly face to face with the other two. In the end, you are not the one who broke a vow, and you are not the one who neglected to do any of what was requested of him for the sake of the kinfolk.
Whoa, broke a vow? That's... okay. That's, okay, I'm just going to ask that you start from the beginning, because obviously that's a lot of accusations, one of which is extremely serious even for me.
I wouldn't claim such a thing if it was not true. But she does finally kind of lean back against the rock, patting it almost as if to reassure the massive boulder. The, at least on this side of the gauntlet, perfectly inanimate, massive boulder. That no, it's okay. She's not so angry. It's fine. After we lost Jessica, who died acting in our way, acting to do anything to defend another kinfolk, he came to us and vowed on her death that he would honor it by recovering his kinfolk. And he did nothing. I worked with Myraya to plan different things for people to do, to write them out, to put them on the Wormfo board for him. But he went to Simon and asked him to give us information on his brother, to give us everything he could, to get people together so that we could plan our strike into the hellhole, and he did none of it. He finally provided us with a name and a picture and some vague information that for the most part was completely useless besides the photo, which at least allowed me to use one of my gifts to hopefully stall him up. But in the end, he let a kinfolk slip away, did nothing about it, and my pack has lost too much already trying not to step on his toes. It is no small thing to snatch a kin out from under another Garou. We didn't want to be seen as thieves, but we have lost Jessica. We have lost the Ranger House. I have lost 3 shrines, and 2 of my pack have lost very, very sentimental mementos of people that were dear to them and are now gone. All because we were not able to move, because Simon would not come to us, would not prepare, would take no action.
I need to get out the notepad if you want to dig into this now. So if you just want to give me cliff notes so Jacob can write it down as you go over it.
Especially, did you roll Truth a Guy, and at what point?
I can roll a set of them if you want, because you'd be Truth of Guying every... I just usually when it comes to stuff like this, I just make one roll because...
Yeah, I assume it's essentially one roll and everything following to a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, unless your minute sub is 6 now, I should still have a success.
No, it is not. Her minute
Okay,
sub
yeah,
is dog shit.
I succeed. Thank you. Thank you for being bad.
She
Because it
is.
means
She is.
that terrible roll succeeded.
She is a really shit liar. If anyone actually bothers to pay any attention, most people just don't. So she skims. But no, she's a terrible liar. Technically, saying that he did absolutely nothing rings as kind of false. Though she does say earlier that he provided a name, a picture. In fact, he can look on the board and see where exactly what was funded or was given in the report. But the rest of it rings true. The bit about the oath, the losses suffered, and if nothing else, her fucking growing temper. In fact, I will say that over the course of the conversation, not at any particular point, but as a mention of it comes up and it goes on, she'll kind of ambiently take another point of rage, which is, woohoo, a whole 3, but still a point in that she has gotten more tense, more sharp toned, still not outright challenging as far as like stepping up to Jacob by any means, but she is definitely like visibly agitated.
So would it be so if Simon allegedly made an oath on the Death Seeker's kin to aid Magda?
I will have to look up the exact details of the oath, but it was essentially he vowed to, make her death worth it and to retrieve his kinfolk. And then a month passed before we even went into the hellhole, and that was at Aiden's jockeying for action, not Simon's.
Simon provided a picture and...
Let me look at the board, because I think it's under the Black Spiral stuff, maybe?
Outside of that, Simon provided no other aid other than providing a specific set of items.
A specific set of items based on his brother, but as far as the Seekers can tell, at least, did absolutely nothing to recover the kinfolk.
That was a lot she said in one go. She said something about breaking an oath, which I've already recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Not providing aid, providing items that were not particularly useful. I guess
they were useful for something else, for like working on the Black Spiral thread as a whole, maybe. But as far as recovering Magda, completely useless.
Jacob was actually going to ask because obviously this is a line of inquiry, so
feel free. Feel free to have him like take the flurry of information, and then as she's like calming herself back down, process it, and then ask more questions.
Yeah, Jacob will kind of give her a moment to calm down and say, "You said he." After a lot of cajoling, that he provided you with items. Can you go into what they were and if they provided any aid?
And she will think on it and actually probably go over to consult the notes she has. In particular, probably the piece that is still on the board. As far as the Black Spirals go, the various notes. And she'll finally point to a bit. One of the main spirals we are aware of is a man known as Vincent. Vincent is a fallen Theurge, formerly of the Get of Fenris. He's the brother of Aegis Shield. In theory, he fell because of Simon and has been hunting him. And we have nothing else except for the picture that I had you make copies of so that I could use the gift. In the end, we're not sure if it was what I did or Mariah's howling that caused them to track us back to the Ranger headquarters and set it ablaze. All the same, it still revolves around Simon.
What did you lose from the Ranger's cabin? I think you noted you lost several shrines.
After Jessica died, I spent several days alongside her body until we could see to her funeral. And afterwards, I wasn't able to go home. I was staying at the ranger headquarters. I had Mariah bring the shrines that we normally keep at home there so that I could continue to tend them. The one to our pack totem, the one to the Morgan, and the one to Hearn the Hunter. All three were left in the blaze.
See, recorded a name here so Jacob can name them in scene if they ever come up again.
Mm-hmm. The pack totem being Dana, if you need it. What you saying there, Robin?
It's safe to say that Robin is like studying both of you closely. Basically to check your emotional states. Like,
would you like to P&E the two of them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I PM psychology, PMP?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. In fact, have we started rolling anything?
I have a.
Okay, that's fine. As long as there's a little open scene tag. I just wanted to make sure there was something there.
Yeah.
You're good. Go for it.
I actually see which. I think I actually have the same dice pool for both. I do.
Yeah, you go do it.
And psychology is a knowledge, so I'll give you more for your successes there than I would for empathy.
I will roll on 10 point as well, just because I wanna. I will never succeed at psychology on 10 point because I suck. I want to like Dear Bay. Why won't the dice let me like Dear Bay?
I got 2 successes on 10 points.
Help me out, Robin, baby bird.
Jacob is doomed.
Help Jacob. Help Jacob with your psychologies. Use your glorious mind speak.
I don't have any successes on Jacob, but I do have 2 on 10 points.
Lol.
I will give you that. While it is very easy to tell that 10 point is agitated. Some agitation is obviously due to the subject at hand, but there's also a certain level of like she was annoyed when she was up on the rock, but she's also we'll say it's the body language maybe that cues her off. That 10 point is still staying like just out of like what is considered like traditional arm's reach of Jacob. She's got kind of, the arms up close to her body, like kind of defensive posturing and whatnot. There is some tension there outside of the subject matter, though the fact that there's tension over the subject matter is pretty obvious, and the shrines in particular have agitated her to the point of like she can see the jaw clenching, and she probably, even if she can't physically hear it, she just imagines she can hear the teeth grinding over the amount of things that were lost due to one guru's inability to act, especially when so much of it was specifically her pack.
Yeah, Robin is, just to be on the safe side, she's just making sure that she's going to stand in a tactical position in between the two of them.
Yeah, thankfully none of the posturing, none of it is aggressive. Thankfully,
no, but Robin has learned a little bit about Garou, and she knows that they can fly off the handle.
What? Garou? Fly off the handle?
That's so silly.
And actually, give me a second to BRB.
Yeah. I guess even though you got no successes, I will give you the basics of what Jacob is like. What Jacob is actively showing. He appears to be. No, you had your role. You lay with it. You made your bed.
Hey, this is a P&P, not a P&E.
Sleep in your bed. So Jacob is in. What?
Nothing. Go on.
Why are you saying ew? I was like sleep in your bed. Like how's that ew? Like
you said pee in your bed.
No, I didn't. That's what you weirdo. Look how weird Saskia is, everybody.
Wow.
Jeez. Yeah, so bully. Jacob is in very much how you would expect a fairly serious on-the-job police officer to be acting, as in he has suddenly shifted from his casual tones to a much more professional posture and attitude, and is actively taking notes. He is treating this as a serious line of inquiry, and does not seem to be putting anything off the table as of right now. Like, he's obviously taking every word with the weight that it's being given right now. Doesn't necessarily mean he believes it. You're not sure what he believes right now. You know, he's taking what is being said quite seriously, to the point where he is actively recording it and writing it down.
For the first time, 10 Point hopes he makes a fucking file.
He's making a file. He's making a file.
He might make a file on Robin, just a teaser. But no, that's it. So right now, 10 Point earnestly believes Simon broke. I don't know. Proper grammar can't be a good cop. Not good grammar. Simon actually made an oath on the death of the Seeker's kin to make their death matter. Simon provided a picture and other items based on his brother Vincent. After much cajoling / reminding, actions taken by the Seekers to rescue Magda. They lost several shrines and the Ranger cabin. Recorded and named here. Simon provided no other aid to rescue the convict Magda.
So follow-up questions there, buddy.
Well, I mean, if Jacob needs some time to think,
no,
especially when he's writing stuff, okay, then she'll shut up. Like they already all.
Okay. You can talk. It's time for.
Robin will look at 10 Point and is like, "Is there anything I can do to help you restore some of what is lost? I don't know how you make shrines. I'm not a theurge, but I could potentially gather materials for you."
There's kind of a stiff in and out of breath. The I'm totally calming down takes, a proper full lungful, and she puffs it out a bit, but is visibly, taking a moment. But she nods idly at the offer, at least, gesturing vaguely up and over her head, up onto the rock. I am beginning work on more permanent shrines for the three of them, or at least for Hearn and for the Morrigan. I like having the shrine to Dana be something that we can take with us, so that we can honor her properly wherever we may be. Those, maybe, but losing so many things tied to people who have passed, things that cannot be replaced, there's nothing to be done for it. The warder has, I think, offered to replace the building, but it does not replace the maps, the notes, the plans that were kept there.
I understand. I'm truly sorry for all your losses.
If they had been something I could overlook, I would. But all of this in the wake of losing a kin who did more for Magda than Simon has thus far. It's insult to injury. Even the warder reminded him of his duty. And he responded with, "I don't deserve to be talked to that way." To the warder, of all people.
I believe was actually witness to this.
I
believe Jacob was actually here witnessed that. So
I know that 10 Point was nearby, but didn't see and hear. But she was told about it after the fact.
I remember Jacob was literally there. I think Aiden may have been there as well. I can't
Aiden
remember.
was, in fact.
Yeah.
Well, I can assure you, Raya, that if we were back home,
things would be very different for Simon right now, as opposed to him going back to whatever he has been doing. She kind of waves a hand dismissively to, the areas beyond this whole time, as opposed to making any effort to rescue the woman he claims he loves.
I guess I should ask, because help was offered, and of course expected of Simon in return, what help was specifically offered, and what was expected of Simon in this instance? I know that seems like an obvious question, but it is important.
Kind of blinks. You mean in regards to Magda?
And the help that was offered by the Seekers and the Wempo and yourself in regards to this. Of course the Seekers in general.
As far as I'm aware, everyone who has heard of what happened has offered to take part in trying to recover her. We were more than eager and more than ready. But we put it on Simon, because it was his kinfolk, in the end, to arrange things, to gather people, and to prepare to go to get her back. As far as we can tell, he did none of it. I'm sure that offers were made to help him, but in the end, he didn't gather a group. He didn't come asking to prepare to leave. Even after we had the pulse and knew she was there and alive, at any point, we could have moved in. It took a month, and it took Aiden gathering people to make it happen.
I'm going to make another roll, because this is now a separate line of inquiry, and as such justifies another roll. That is definitely truth. Sorry, not truth, but definitely success. Crap, I feel like
And while 10 Point obviously has no idea what he's been doing, but as far as she knows, has been nothing, because she hasn't seen any results herself. It's all
capitalize that particular part of my notes.
Yeah, I know there is a point where if someone is unsure, it rings as neither true nor false. So I guess certain parts of it would ring that way, like in that neutral. I can't be sure, but this is what I assume.
Someone can say what they believe to be true, and it will ring true, as far as they know it's true, even if it might be a flat out lie. That is actually to detect a lie that someone believes to be true, or rather, someone says a mistruth but is actually untrue, but they believe is true fully and wholeheartedly. There's actually a level 4 gift to detect that.
Yeah, no, as far as she knows, he's done nothing. It all just shines of truthy truthness.
Was Simon aware she was pulsed, and when was this, and when was he informed, to the best of your knowledge?
She was pulsed fairly soon after. And we made sure he was aware. It took him 3 weeks to bring us back information even on just his brother.
In regards to the pulse, a few days or a few weeks?
I was not the one who did it, Raya. I couldn't tell you for sure. Best asked of Aiden.
I'll definitely do that.
Considering that she was taken alive, it stood to reason that she would be kept that way. I'd imagine they would perhaps make her into Fomori, not this. I didn't know it could leave vessels. The only way that I know of that she could have become this is that she had been compelled to kill the previous one. I don't know that it strengthens her at all, but it's still a new vessel, and it's still one very full of pain. I suffered a vision. I didn't know it was tied to Magda, but I could feel the agony of being abandoned, of being betrayed, very distinctly. I felt more than I saw.
You have visions?
Of course.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Robin looks a bit confused, but just takes it as, okay, this is another Garou thing.
Toach just, hashtag just their things.
There you go, Jacob's. That's, I thought as soon as I said that, it was just my face. You'd stop right there, madam.
Why is it here?
I was already able to, so now and again, take in visions. I am able more capably now to provoke them when Dana is feeling generous.
So it's a spirit thing.
There's a light, thoughtful tilt of head. Usually, in a way. Sometimes they are brought unbidden, but at least now I have the ability to seek them out.
I understand. I still don't know a lot about spirits. I know the general things, but yeah.
If there's a thing that you can put a word to and have a basic belief of, there is a spirit for it.
Yeah. Well, that much I did kind of know, but yeah.
Women, plants, and animals, concepts, ideas. The city has a spirit. There are spirits of justice. There are spirits of deceit. Anything that has a meaning has a spirit.
That's interesting.
Maybe a side glance over to Jacob.
Jacob's just still taking notes and going over them. By the way, because Jacob has 4 dots in investigation, if there's anything you think I should ask that I'm missing, just because some things are said, and as I type, sometimes I forget things, and I do apologize.
All in all, I think I've given you all that 10 Point flat out has. Because she was more than willing to give it up and be like, here, kick him in the face, please.
It was the first thing she said, which I'm struggling to remember, just because it all came down so quickly, and I didn't actually have a notepad open at the time.
I think the first thing she mentioned was him breaking a promise.
Yeah, breaking the promise was definitely caught Jacob's attention. And I've written that down. Not helping, taking a month.
Yeah, it took a month for the Garou to mobilize to help Magda, and even then it was because Aiden called them together, not because Simon made any action. In fact, he only barely made it in time to be with the group as they left.
Is there anything else you're aware of that you believe either actions or inactions Simon took that may have either helped or hindered this particular thing? The failed attempt at rescuing Magda?
In the end, his inaction is the crux of the problem. And at this point, she gives a mild shrug. I don't know that Magda will be able to leave the hellhole. I don't think the Caliph has ever left the hellhole. But everything inside it is under her sway, and she wants him, specifically. Whether it is because the person that she is riding wants him, or simply for her own reasons, she is going to want Simon. And while she may not personally come after him, they will. Every day that he is on Sept, I fear that we will be attacked. Wherever he may be, it's very possible he and those around him will be attacked. If they could track down the Ranger headquarters, they can track down anything else. I would say be careful sharing a roof with him. Because my Raya and I may have inconvenienced them, but he has done worse.
We've all done a lot to inconvenience that hellhole and its denizens. But I'll definitely keep your advice in mind. I have been preparing for the day when the minions of the worm turn their full attention to me.
No, I don't think it'll be you. I think it'll be him. But if you share a roof with him,
But as we know, they clearly have no problem going through those close to their enemies to get to them.
oh, absolutely.
Which obviously means me and my extended family are now at much greater risk. If obviously this statement is accurate.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's any wonder to me that Sheila has not already come to harm. But I assume they wanted to be more direct in finding a place that we did not meant to be found.
I think that's all. Sorry for putting you through that again.
You didn't. Your packmate, however, has a lot coming to him. If you're levering affection over reason, then brace yourself.
While I'm investigating the issue on my own terms, I do not believe myself fit to issue a verdict in this case, obviously, because I have a conflict of interest.
Obviously.
So I will simply provide any information I've gathered to the rest of the Philodox, and if they think that information is compromised by my conflict of interest, they're free to disregard it. I have no problem recusing myself entirely. The only reason I'm doing this now is because, as an alpha, I have a stake in this, as not just from the personal angle of being someone's friend, but the fact that if such a failing has occurred under my watch, then I will need to take responsibility for that in my own way.
And Beck kind of leaned against the rock once more, head tilting faintly. I should have thought that as alpha, he would have told you more.
I gave him some time to calm down, obviously, regardless of what the truth is, he lost someone very close to him. And the reason why I didn't want to make the reason why why there was an outburst and a conflict between me and Naden when we immediately got back is because he wanted to make the point there, and I didn't. I wanted to sort that out later.
Perhaps the point needed to be made then, Raya, because if he cared so much for this woman, how could he have gone about his day-to-day for a month, knowing that she was held by spirals, knowing that she was in Staten? How could he, if he cared so much? I assure you that if it had been Jessica or Sheila, we would have mobilized within the week at most, if not within the day, to recover her.
Maybe, but I suppose from my perspective as an investigator, I can't get all the facts when everyone is in grief and lashing out at each other and screaming at each other and clawing at each other.
If it was your fiance, how long would it have taken you?
Oh, I'd have already been gone.
Within the day. You would have
Within the
taken
day.
action. Within
I
a
would have
day, you would have
taken action.
gathered friends and moved.
I would not have. Maybe if it was impossible for me to move out then as soon as I was, as soon as I possibly could, yes. That
My point
wouldn't have.
exactly.
That would have not have been a question.
I don't know if Simon understands what love is, if he says that love is waiting a month and then only moving under the guise of another person.
Jacob will take a rage because that's still his pack, mate, and that's a pretty harsh statement, regardless.
Oh,
of
it
what
is
facts are.
absolutely harsh. Feel free.
Um,
She says this all very flat, very sternly, and still very obviously PO'd.
Do we need to look up the moon phase?
That's a very good question.
I mean, taking a rage means rolling, right? Since you have 4 at that point. And
It
look at that.
is-
It's a half moon.
I mean, not quite. I would
Yeah,
technically categorize it as, like, I do day before and after,
Yeah, me too. And yeah,
so I'd say crescent technically. So it'd still be div 7.
cereal? I have a half moon. Like literally.
I have the
tomorrow
half
is
on
half.
the... Oh, we're on different days.
Oh fuck, yeah.
That's why.
it's
I'm going by New York time, so
It's
crescent.
okay. No
Okay,
matter,
Saturday.
regardless.
Yeah, no, it's
regardless,
Friday, yeah.
I rolled very, very,
Very
well
poorly.
on a frenzy.
Yeah.
So
Good.
I would
You
say a
good.
botch on a frenzy check is great, unless it's a rage heal, in which case it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 10 point is obviously feeling that harsh and meant that exactly as badly as it sounded.
Jacob kind of closes his eyes for a second to try and to try and process, and obviously is trying to not lash out and not react. His reaction is an effort to not react at all.
Robin is taking one step closer to the middle of the two of them.
As for your question, when it comes to have I gotten some side of the story, I've given him some time to calm down. I have been asking him about it since he's calmed down. I have not gotten. I've gotten some answers. I have not gotten a great deal, but that's all I'm really going to divulge on that matter. Obviously, he's in grief. At the same time, I can't give him all the time in the world. We don't have that time. We can't afford that. So
I'm gonna roll a thing. See
I'll
whether
del-
she can keep that on the inside. Nope. At which point she responds simply, "He's had a month."
Oh damn. Oh damn.
Very, again, it's very clipped. She obviously feels strongly on the matter.
Fair enough. I mean, that I probably wouldn't trigger rage just because it's too correct to be anger-inducing. That's witty enough that Jacob can respect it rather than get angry at it.
Sorry,
Fair-
what did she say?
fair-
My computer
she
kind of
did-
buzzed.
He was
He's
like,
had a month.
yeah, she was like, well, I wanted to give him time and blah, 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 and I didn't want to push, and 10 point went, he's had a month.
To be fair, Jacob said I didn't want to push, but I can't give him all the time in the world. He's made it
Yeah.
clear that there is a cutoff point, and he's on that cutoff point. So, he to be fair, he did make it explicit there. But yeah. Oh, has Jason been looking into the matter? I know he hasn't approached me.
We have given him what we knew.
Okay.
Without wanting to accuse Jason of anything, because I do not, do you think he is capable of letting go of the the attachment to his grief. You said he lost. Oh, sorry. No, you said Packmates lost. No, move
Aha!
back. I take this back. Take it back.
Ain't giving you no ammo. Get the fuck out.
No, you have not given me anything. I will take it back. At least I realized this before I finished everything, so I'm good.
Well,
Is there any way in which I can help?
The thing that makes the losses matter is that they are things that are not replaceable, for the most part. There is little to be done.
I can at least aid you in recovering some of your losses when it comes to one of your homes burning down. I can at least help with that. If you wish to accept it, of course.
She offers a shrug.
Best spoken to my alpha. It was not my decision.
Okay. Jacob looks over his notes one more time. Sorry for downing the mood. Sorry for downing the mood.
The mood was not especially high to start with, right?
Are you serious? Robin's the life of the party.
As always.
There's a side glance to the poor cub and the dark circles under her eyes.
The cub shrugs.
Not to make light of your company, of course. But considering that my work, and she gestures above her head again, up to the top of the rock, is on replacing what has been lost, it wasn't as though it was far from my mind to start with.
Well,
Whatever the case, at least the Banes are dealt with. The hellhole is perhaps altered but not grown. Magda cannot be recovered. Vivian has been found safe. Or as safe as she can be. At least she is in Heavy Weaver territory. So the worm should have severe issue coming to her. I find it interesting that it was a blood bane, of all things.
I find it interesting that my memory got so altered.
The delirium forces one to make new memories, forces one to make logical assumptions that clear what they've seen from their mind, because what they've seen is something from the Impergium, something that has hunted their people near to death.
Sure, but spending the entire weekend home is a very far stretch from the truth.
It is.
Especially
I imagine
for the entire weekend.
it occurs to me that if her parents have not returned to the home since, if we wish to learn more about the hunters, the easiest way would be to provoke them to come out. And the last time we went there, they did just that.
They didn't seem, at least one-on-one, they didn't seem particularly dangerous. It didn't do any damage to me, at least.
Well, without the small contingent with silver bullets, I imagine it
almost
didn't
killed
seem especially
Simon.
threatening. And yes, it did. But it can only engage so many people at a time, with so many of us and only one of him. There's a
There were
foregone
more.
conclusion that it would go quickly. Especially with a little help. And she'll even lean over and, of all things, give Robin's hair, like, the fond ruffle. Like, the top of the head ruffle. Like, oh, you did good.
Jacob gives you a
I-
look and a thumbs up. You did good.
But there's again like a little shrug, but also like despite the shrug, there's just that little proud smile on her face, like yeah, I did a thing. I didn't really know what I was doing. It was simply an experiment.
But you acted.
Of course, isn't that the entire idea? Plus, that guy, like I didn't know the person that he like literally chopped his head off. It was a friend of Jason's, my friend Jason's, not your Jason. And I mean, they set him up as a blind date for me, and he died, and they don't even remember him dying. I want to stop that. I want to stop whatever they're doing, and I want to stop the rest of them as well. Now, I don't know exactly how many there are.
There's no telling with only the number one to go by.
I saw the room in my dreams, but I couldn't really tell. There was just two people talking. I couldn't see their faces.
Perhaps I will make an appeal to Dana once I have the shrine completed again.
Would you
But in the
allow me to
meantime-
help?
There's kind of a blink. Certainly. We won't have the connection to the totem. But still, if you're already prone to seeing things, perhaps being near to such a thing taking place will mean that you too can yield something from it.
Don't really think I am.
Perhaps if you link into me.
Hmm.
Two minds are better than one, and you may see something I would not.
True.
When it comes to these rooms, these machines, I don't know what I'm looking at.
If we can find like a brand name or like a name of a company other than that Magadon thing that I will look into.
Can you say something about Pentex as well?
Yeah, they mentioned it when they got me in their cell.
There's a nod. We'll see what we can find. First, I'll have to recover the shrine. On the bright side, I have a sacrifice in the ready, and one that may make it that much easier.
Robin looks a bit disturbed at that.
For what it's worth, she seems perfectly pleasant about it. How lucky that they would have an applicable sacrifice ready to go. 10 Point doesn't totally still have a decapitated head hanging out.
So,
I mean, Robin is not gonna inquire, but
She'll see when the time comes. It'll be traumatizing enough then.
Oh God. Are we gonna go back to the house again?
If we want to attempt another engagement, we certainly could. Never mind that we probably want to clean it so that her parents do not come suspecting things or disallowing us to return.
This is true. We should probably go back and play cleanup. Obviously, I left early to take you home, Robin. I know you collected what parts of the creature remained, but
There was only the head. I have it.
Yeah, the disturbed look in Robin's eyes kind of like increases for as far as that possible.
Yep. She continues with, the rest was destroyed in the explosion.
Explosion.
Yes, the van.
Oh, right.
For some reason, it blew up.
looks like every piece of equipment they used was rigged. Makes
Well, and
sense.
beyond that, anything that remained dissipated upon cleansing. More and more, it seems like the tools of the worm, when cleansed, crumble to nothing. While it does make it hard to follow up, it does mean it is very easy to disarm them, given the time and the distraction.
It makes sense to make your equipment have these sorts of safeguards. Makes it harder for your enemy to learn what you're doing, track you, piece things together, gives them less information.
Actually takes up a bit of a thoughtful look. At the same time, if we go back and we are prepared, I could perhaps prepare a circle for cleansing, stay out of sight, and when they came to engage, if I could make a full circuit and cleanse, they would suddenly be unarmed and unarmored.
I mean, well, we could potentially try. Never mind. I don't want to risk them again.
There's an eyebrow quirk.
I was just thinking we could basically repeat what happened. Like me and Vivian and Jason going for a weekend. Potentially. To the house.
It's almost certain that if you go, they will come. You don't necessarily need the other bait.
Yeah, but it wouldn't really make sense for me to go alone. Especially since they know that, you know, I
There's a
I
faint
got away
smirk.
now. I could
Go with Aiden again. Corinne. It's the teasing smile.
Had I?
She remembers. She remembers their previous excuse.
I mean, or I could pretend that I've run away from this place and use that house to just, you know.
Do you need an excuse? If we go there, they will show up. They are watching it. There doesn't need to be a plausible reason. They don't care.
I mean, if they suspect a trap, I could just simply make a phone call saying, you know, I ran away and I'm staying here and not coming back or something like that.
Or we could simply go and begin to clean the place up as though to cover our own tracks in your first change. Which is as plausible a reason as any to be there.
It's true. I was just thinking, if they would take me back to that place again, you guys could follow. You would find out where.
Absolutely not.
Yes, Raya.
We hunt in packs, we work in packs, allowing one of us, especially a cub, to be taken singly. No. If it were perhaps an Adrian who volunteered for such a thing, there's only so much argument to be made, but no.
Sorry, Robin, you're not on the menu.
We don't use our children as bait. There's a light pat for her shoulder.
There's a slight side eye when you say children, because
She says it as pleasantly as she can, but yes, the point is made.
Hey, 10 point, how old are you? I'm 12. What?
Fuck you, 10 points like fucking 30.
Ah, she's gone on for a while. For a Metis, at least.
10 point was a Cleith for a very, very long time. Or pardon, a cub for a very, very, very long time.
Oh. She 12. That's why I headcanon it now.
Oh, fuck your weird metasaging.
yeah.
It's not even weird. They reach adult age at like 10, right? Because
No,
they age
earlier.
faster than humans?
Fuck
They
if I
reach-
know, dude. It's not in the book, so I don't worry about it.
It is like
No.
Lupus reach adult age at like 2.
Well, yeah.
Elwood made the rules that Metis age times 2, Lupus age times 3.
If Lupus aged times 3, they wouldn't be adults until they were like...
6?
Yeah. At which point you're reaching old age for most wolves.
Yeah, what the hell? That doesn't make any
Well,
sense.
then maybe it's 4. I don't know anymore. I know Metis is times 2 at least.
That makes
All
more
I
sense
know
for
is that
Metis.
in the end, I was told that fucking Stonequell
Yeah.
was an adult at 2.
Yeah, I mean, that makes
That's
sense.
true.
That is
Yeah.
the standard.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Either way, whatever age 10 point is, she is effectively 30.
Yeah.
Whether or not she is literally 30. Leave that up to the finger waggles of the powers that be. I don't give a shit. I will have a word with the Wormful on whether we want to. See if we can draw them into another attack, perhaps with preparation this time. I imagine they will expect us to be prepared after attacking us there once, but it doesn't mean they can account for everything. And at least this time we will have eyes in the Umbra.
Yeah, but like I said, I would take into account that they will, at least if they bring one of those hunters again or more, they will be more improved than the first one. And the first one almost killed a Naroon. So we have to be careful.
Par for the course. There's always a bigger threat.
Yep, pretty much.
I
Can't
wish they
disagree.
knew, or I wish we knew how they knew. How did they knew? First of all, I was even like, I mean, that I was related to Jacob, sure, yeah. That's probably not that hard to find out, but how did they know that I would be there at that place in that time? And how did they even know if I would know anything about what, you know?
If there's one thing the minions of Worm seem to have an advantage over us, and it's the gathering of information. They have a lot of ways of doing that.
Well,
Kin are generally closely watched by the nation and by its enemies. The kin of a Silverfang are considerably valuable and usually held very close. There's no reason to believe that you would be unknowing. And there is no reason for them not to know our names with the way that we howl. The spirals can hear it just as well as we can. It is why when we make plans, at least involving them or the hellhole, they will not be howled. They will be spread by word of mouth quietly through the Sept.
Well, that's good to know.
We are not the only ones who speak high tongue. And while there are other points that I'd be interested in pursuing, at least for now, it does not seem to be to our greatest advantage to do so.
Always something to do. Hmm?
Of course. Hunters, spirals. At least the Bane presence has gone down. You might consider looking into whoever it was, perhaps talking to Cammy, see if she can talk to that spider. Whoever brought those friends of yours home. The fact that what followed was a bloodbane suggests vampire activity rather than spiral activity.
Yes. Be very careful of them.
On the bright side, the Banes will never make it but so close with the Weavers so heavily present there, but it may mean that vampires are close to your friends, or at least had a hold of them before they were brought back.
I'll get in contact with Cammy then.
Hmm. I'll need to be doing that anyway, so...
As I said, there is at least one spider in their residence that was very agreeable. It's very possible that Cammy could simply walk there, and speak to the spirit itself, and go unhindered otherwise. As long as she is near to where the Weaver presence is high, she shouldn't be bothered by Banes. And considering her tribe, she shouldn't be bothered by the Weaver. And she certainly has better chiminage to offer than I would.
Hmm. It's her area. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll... If you guys agree to it, of course, because... Do you actually need to ask permission to leave to people in higher rank?
There's a
I think...
blink and a glance. In your case, you would not leave the Sept unless you're accompanied by an adult.
No, I mean... from the conversation.
Hmm? No.
Okay. I think I need to find more coffee.
I'm a tea guy, you know you'll get no coffee from me.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it how you stay awake. Anyway, I'll talk to both of you later.
I'll see you later.
Bye.
There's a little finger waggle.
Bye-bye, cousin.
Bye, Jakey.
There might be the tiniest little smirk. She turns her head aside to kind of hide it, but it's like, oh, Jakey. Smirk.
Hmm. She being a cheeky.
And yeah, Robin yawns and we'll leave.
Yep. 10 Point takes this as her cue to clamber back up the rock. My, what a convenient time to disengage.
So mean.
She is mean. She's the meanest meanie.
Stop being a mean. You have to be dear mean, not dear bae, not dear bully.
No, you're a butt. She doesn't hang
Yeah.
out with butts.
I'm bae. I'm Falcon friend.
Nope. You're Falcon Bully. Give me back my
Oh.
toy.
Not until you be my friend.
I'm not going to be your friend till you give me back my toy. I'm not even going to consider it till you give back my toy.
I don't think you'll be my friend if you... Never mind. It's going to go on forever, so... we could take this also as enough time to disengage, because he has civility. I'll say. It was nice talking to you, 10 Point, and thanks again for your time.
There's an absent bob of the head. Of course, Raya. And she picks up the little thing she was working on again. sticking her hand into what's probably a bowl of water and flicking it over the clay to dampen it again so she can keep working.
Ooh.
And with that awkward disengagement, I think we'll call it a scene. So thank you, players, for playing and watchers for watching. Until next time, this has been the Living World of Darkness. Rage across New York.